Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and I'm here to bring you guys a new Bleach Chapter 524 prediction. And wow, man, after a few weeks of waiting, after having no Bleach whatsoever, no manga chapters, of course, no anime episodes because the anime's been finished, and on top of that, I didn't see any like interviews or anything like that come out from Kubo, which is actually a bit strange because I know a lot of the big three authors usually come out with interviews around like December during Jump Festa, but I didn't see anything like that from any of them actually. Finally, though, Bleach is back. And let me just say this. This Bleach chapter this week, to me, didn't start off like that strong, although of course what happened in the beginning of the chapter needed to be said. But, I felt like there could have been more information, but the ending definitely was perfect to me. Like, it could have been no better. I mean, definitely that was the type of ending where, of course, I'm a huge fan of Bleach, so I'm going to want to continue reading no matter what. But if someone decided to just jump into Bleach that particular week and they saw that cliffhanger, they could not tell me that they would not be interested in seeing what happens next because it was amazing to me. But of course, the beginning of the chapter, of course, focused on where we left off in the previous chapter, 522, where Ichigo and Renji were, of course, thrown in that room where Oetsu had, I guess, these lurking figures in the shadows, where I actually thought that they were actually going to be Zangetsu and Zabimaru and possibly maybe even Halo Ichigo. And, a lot of you guys probably also know why I think, or at least I thought that. Why you probably also thought that as well, because Oetsu was talking about you disrespect your Zanpakuto, you don't care about your Zanpakuto, and you have to feel the wrath of Zanpakuto. So I was thinking, oh, okay, they're probably going to end up facing off. Ichigo is probably going to be having a conversation with Zangetsu. But, of course, that was not even the case. They end up actually facing off with these things called the Asauchi. And the Asauchi are pretty much supposed to be like an unnamed Zanpakuto. A Zanpakuto that, I guess you could say hasn't formed necessarily to their soul yet. They're pretty much blank. And, let me just say that, I like how Kubo's actually explaining the process of how Zanpakuto come about, but it definitely is raising a lot of questions because as Oetsu goes on, he explains that all Shinigami in the academy are given Zanpakuto, like unnamed Zanpakuto, and pretty much those are the Asauchi. And the Asauchi, of course, after being with the Shinigami for a certain amount of time, training with the Shinigami for a certain amount of time, they start to form a part of their soul, and they become a part of their soul, which is, I guess, how you can say the Zanpakuto spirit actually comes about. Looking at how, like Renji with Zabimaru, of course, Ichigo with Zangetsu, and there are some. I would say that it definitely adds up and makes sense to some extent, in the sense that I know Zanpakuto actually give off their own spiritual pressure. And that used to throw me off just slightly. Like, okay, if that's a part of the Shinigami's soul, should there really be any difference as far as spiritual pressure goes? Or why would a Shinigami have to draw power from their Zanpakuto if that's initially, or I guess you could say that is their own power? Now, granted, it still is their power. I guess you could say the Zanpakuto is still a part of their power. But at the same time, it sounds more or less like a Zanpakuto and a Shinigami, when they fight together, it's somewhat like a fusion, I guess you can say. I don't know, that's just the kind of vibe I get from it after they went ahead and explained the Asauchi a little bit. But, oh yeah, I also like the fact that Kubo actually explained, or at least said how many Shinigami approximately are in the Soul Society, which is about, like, I say 6,000 Shinigami, because I really was actually puzzled about that for a while. I was like, I'm just kind of curious. Like, I wonder how many there actually are, because you see random ones running around here or there, and you have all these different divisions. So I've always wondered that a little bit. So I'm glad he actually gave the amount, although I did expect quite a few more. Like, I was expecting maybe at least like 20, 30,000 Shinigami or something, but that wasn't the case. But, still, I am glad that he took the time to do that. But after, of course, we saw the little explanations, and we saw the Asochi running at Ichigo and Renji. Oetsu also goes on to explain that, pretty much saying that they've been abusing their Zanpakuto, and they haven't been using it right, they haven't been fighting with it right. And he asks Ichigo and them, who is the king of the hill? And when he says that, a lot of you guys probably automatically thought of, because I did, Hollow Ichigo, talking about, who's the king, who's the horse. And, I think Kubo's doing that purposely because Ichigo never truly addressed that when Hollow Ichigo would talk about who's the king, who's the horse. Of course, he beat Hollow Ichigo, but he was pretty much just set on winning, getting his powers and taking control. He didn't really think about it in terms of, these guys are part of my power or whatnot. Like I should, or actually, I guess you could say, especially with Hollow Ichigo, really felt how they felt, or how the other parts of his soul, like the Zanpakuto and Hollow Ichigo, actually feel. So this definitely is going to probably be something that, like, after this whole Asauchi thing, we're probably going to start seeing more communication between Ichigo, Hollow Ichigo, and Zangetsu, I'm thinking, because we don't see Ichigo talk to Zangetsu like that. He doesn't really do his Genzen like that. And a lot of people question that, but I think Kubo is actually going to start to have Ichigo do that more now, because Ichigo, it seems like he's building Ichigo up to probably start to have more of a bond with Zangetsu, probably after this whole thing is done. But of course, that part of the chapter, was pretty good. But the second half of the chapter definitely was probably the best half to me, because of course we skip over to Ichigo, or not Ichigo, but Kenpachi Zaraki and Unohana Retsu, or Unohana Yachiru, and we go to the Soul Society's prison known as the Mugen, which is supposed to be the lowest level. And pretty much this is where Unohana is going to start training Zaraki Kenpachi, because they're down there in the lowest level. Unohana has her braid all unwrapped, and we all know, or unbraided, I guess you could say, and we all know that in the interview, Kubo stated that when Unohana fights, that's what she does. She unravels her braid and she goes ham, pretty much. And I don't know. I thought maybe she was gonna. I don't know if maybe the braid does anything as far as she gets a spiritual pressure boost or anything like that, like how Kenpachi has his eye patch off. Which is also pretty cool that Kenpachi has his eye patch off. But Unohana's complete personality has changed. Like, she just, like, I don't know, like pretty much it's like she has like multiple personalities or something, like, which I would not be surprised if she does have a second personality, because she straight up looked crazy when she turned around. Even her speeches were like, or the words that she said, she was very short with it. And Kenpachi, of course, he's all excited to be doing this, having this all-out fight with Unohana, it seems. And he's actually talking quite a bit, which Unohana actually notes. And one thing that she says is that I guess she had the only scar, or the only wound that she has, is burning. It's itching to fight. And I guess a lot of people out there I know are assuming that maybe Kenpachi Zaraki gave that to her, which actually would make a lot of sense if he did, because he also states that I guess his wound also is burning or itching. So right now we all know Unohana, because we also hear from Kiraku that she knew like over 8,000 styles or something like that. She pretty much knows all the different styles in Soul Society as far as swordsmanship is concerned, which actually explains why, in I believe the Bleach data books, she had the stats that she did as far as offense. I think it's just as high as Yamamoto's. And we also find out that she was actually a pretty crazy person in terms of the beginnings of Soul Society. She was a part of the original Gochi 13, and she was supposed to be, I guess, a murderer. She was a villain of Soul Society, killed off a bunch of people. So actually, this is really getting me curious on Unohana's backstory. What was the turning point for her? What actually made her decide to join the Gote 13? Because even Kenpachi notes, he says, Unohana, if it wasn't for, our powers, or wasn't for us being able to bash skulls in, we would just be considered criminals. And, she even says, that's true. So I'm like, okay, what was the turning point? How did you end up becoming the healing captain? And I definitely feel as though Tenjiro, one of the Royal Guard members, is going to tie in this somehow, because we also know that Tenjiro taught her some healing techniques, which is still a bit weird to me, but we know that's what happened. So I definitely think that, okay, Tenjiro is going to somehow factor in that backstory. Maybe he's what helped her turn or change sides somewhat, because going from what we see right now, the personality she has right now, to what we've known her to be prior to this, or what we thought she was like prior to this, is completely different. I mean, she seemed like probably one of the nicest Shinigami around, and now she seems like she would just like kill anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. But one thing Kiraku notes is that this fight, pretty much, her training Kenpachi, he realizes it's going to cost one of them their lives. Somebody's going to die, which I don't really mind that much. I mean, obviously, I'm thinking that's going to be Unohana, because obviously it will be, to me, it'd be a bit of a waste if you had her getting ready to train Kenpachi Zaraki and then he just dies. It wouldn't really make sense to me. But I don't know if maybe this is going to be a moment where Kenpachi also maybe learns his Shikai name, something along that sort. Oh yeah, also kind of makes you think. If Zaraki Kenpachi, I know he has some form of Shikai, but I wonder if maybe we'll learn from Oetsu a little bit more about Shikai and Bankai and how that works and how that's connected to the Asauchi or something. Maybe somehow maybe whatever Ichigo learns in the from the Royal Guard maybe can somehow help Kenpachi unlock the true powers of his Shikai, actually learn Zanpakuto's name, or even the same thing with maybe he'll even learn Bankai. I mean, I doubt he'll learn Bankai. It seems like right now Kubo is going to focus on Kenpachi learning these different sword styles, but definitely am excited to see Unohana and Kenpachi Zaraki go all out and face each other off. I mean, I do expect that we're probably going to see the entire fight. I don't know necessarily. I don't think we're going to see the fight continue from next week as far as. I think it may focus on it maybe towards the middle half of the chapter, but I do think we're going to go back to Ichigo and Renji because I'm pretty sure Kubo, wants us to get excited, get hyped up for this fight. He's probably, like gonna show bits for maybe a little bit, and then eventually he's probably going to start to focus on just that particular fight. And I do expect that maybe, Unohana probably will, if they're, well, she's gonna die. She's probably gonna use Bankai, which leads me to think that her Bankai is probably nothing to do with healing. Probably something that's just completely murderous, something that's just crazy. Which is why I think maybe Kenpachi will learn Shikai, like actually learn the name of his Shikai, maybe in this middle of this fight or something. Maybe even Unohana will give him the secret to learning his Shikai because, as we all know, she seems to be very similar in a sense to Kenpachi now. Which I mean, I didn't think that she was going to be this crazy looking. I mean, again, she looks completely like she has a complete personality, like she's a different person or something. But definitely was a pretty good Bleach chapter this week. The ending definitely good. What I like and what I expect pretty much, like I said, was maybe get a little bit of Unohana versus Zaraki Kenpachi. Maybe that'll be like the focus of the second half of next week's chapter. I'm thinking, we may get a flashback over to Ichigo, or what Kubo may decide to do is continue where we're at right now with this, and then maybe go back to the stuff with Ichigo and of course Renji, because that seems more or less what we're focusing on right now is training, seeing what's going on. I'm kind of wondering where we're going to get a flash over to the Stern Ritter or Vandenreich because we haven't seen them for a while. I'm kind of wondering what they're up to, what they're strategizing for this particular war. But this arc is on point. I don't really have any complaints. Which I mean, I'm a pretty positive person anyway, so I really don't really think too negatively when it comes down to a lot of the manga I read. But pretty much, I mean, these are pretty much my thoughts this week. I definitely think that Kubo started off pretty good this year. So anyway, I hope all of you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to rate this video. So if you liked it, please put a thumbs up. And if you didn't like this video, you can put a thumbs down. The choice is yours, guys. Also, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content and you would like to see more of it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.